So one of the things that is important for really effective EMDR, and especially if you're working with people who have a history of attachment issues or trauma, having your own awareness and being able to be mindful, and that's what we're going to talk about a lot today, is being able to be completely present in this moment with your client. So, and before we start, I'm going to ask Tori to please read the questions and let me know if there's something someone needs me to do or different. Okay. So let's just start with just being here. And so I'd like to invite whoever would like to join me to just feel the present state of being here. And notice what draws your attention first. How do you know you're here? For some of you, you might notice your breath and the quality of your breath. For others, you could notice your seat on the chair, feet on the floor, your physical body here. Or some of you may notice thoughts. And there's a thought of, yes, of course I'm here. Some may notice an emotion like an excitement or an anticipation of what's going to happen today. Some of you may notice things outside of you. So you might know you're here because you're hearing the sound of my voice, or maybe something else in your environment. Just begin to notice how you, in your unique organization of you, how you notice your presence, how you notice you're here. And then I would just like to invite you to notice how our awareness can shift. So we can bring our awareness wherever we want to. We can direct it to our breath. We can direct it inside. Or we can direct our awareness outside of us. So just practice doing that, like bringing your awareness like into your core, inside your body. And then your awareness outside of you to things that are around you. You can even do that with your eyes closed without seeing what's around you, just noticing how your awareness shifts. And then also notice how you can pay attention to small things like your breath or a thought. And then how you can shift your awareness to a wider view. Think of your whole being here, and maybe even the whole room or your whole house outside of you. And just kind of widening and narrowing that shift of focus. And now I would like to end this by having you notice what happens in your awareness Just bring your attention to your awareness of you as I say some words, and I'll say those words twice, and just notice what shifts for you or what happens in your experience. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Just take note of what happens for you as you hear those words. Maybe there's a tightness or tension somewhere. Maybe there's an opening. There could be a part of you that says, no, I don't feel welcome. I'm not welcome anywhere. Or a part of you that says, of course I'm welcome. I'm always welcome. Just notice what happens for you in your experience. And then if I had my bell, I would ring it. Ding. I just bought a new bell, so to bring you back. So welcome everyone. And I don't know, Tori, can you promote people from the list? If you can, promote Wanda and Angel if they're here.
I wasn't able to last week, but
okay. I'm going to check and see if Wanda and Angel are here. There's Angel. Promote her. You just got a promotion, Angel.
sorry.
And Wanda. There she is. Wanda's here. All right. Welcome, everyone. Okay. And Keith is raising a hand. Keith, if you need something, I'm not sure if you're raising a hand because you need something, or
I'll put my contact info.
if you do, please put it in the chat. Tori will let me know. Yeah, so Jared said, you said if you're here, raise your hand, and they thought you meant you guys. I meant the assistants. Yeah, that's right. Jared, thank you. Okay. Yeah, Jeannie's saying she's losing connection. So welcome, Jeannie. It does help if you have the ability to use one of those yellow cords to hook it right into your router, and it will, and Keith hit his hand accidentally. It will help you have better connection. All right, so I'd like to give an opportunity, if anyone would like to share their experience with the opening. If anyone has anything they would like to share about the opening exercise, I would welcome someone sharing. This is going to pertain to what we're talking about today. So if anyone would like to, I will promote you to panelists and you can talk about it for a minute. It's not, of course, everyone can't. And it seems like the more people we have, the less people want to share for some reason. All right, so 2 people raised their hand. Who raised their hands? All these people? Okay. Great. So Shirley is saying, it helped me get more focused. I just had a slightly rude distraction interruption in my office over a silly garbage can in the hallway. So I was annoyed. So thanks for bringing me back. Great. I can see myself using this with clients to help them understand that they're able to control where they go. Great. And Ami noticed a shift in back pain, less pain after the statement. Awesome. Great tracking. Great tracking of your own experiences, you guys. Great. Good. Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to start the sharing my screen. And I did not get any information about registering for this session. I not know if there was a problem. Okay. Yeah, I sent it twice to you, so I'm not sure why. We're going to have to use a different email or something. So I know that, Deidre, I sent it to you twice. Okay. So here we go. So this is where you are. We're in day 3 of the 12-hour webinar. And these are the goals again. And so this is the overall global goals of it, and we will just review those to more deeply understand the role of attachment in the body in the EMDR treatment, to gain skills to predict blocks and overcome obstacles, to deepen the client's sense of safety, identify ways clients manage their experience, learn specific resources depending on the client's need, learn how to modulate and track the client's experience in a moment-to-moment way, and tools to help the client access more deeply. So those are all the things, and these last 2 are the ones that we're going to focus on today. So today we're going to talk about tracking, more about tracking, and understanding the character types and a more active type of tracking we'll talk about today. Before we start, what I would like to talk about first is why we're doing this, because it's important to have a global understanding of it first. And this is a really important part of it, that you have this understanding and this way of kind of this intention going into it. Because what we're talking about is noticing what's happening in other people and then kind of interpreting them, but we're doing it in an open, curious way, and not a way that we're the expert telling them, you know, oh, you're being resistant or whatever. We don't want to do that. So the philosophy behind this is that the client has the answers, and it's our job to help them find them. So we're curious, we're open and curious. We're trying to see through the client's perspective. So what we're not looking to see, okay, what do they need that I can give them? That's not your first thing that you're looking for. We're looking to completely understand the client. That is so missed by so often missed. And if you don't have that, there is nothing else is really going to work very well. We're looking at the symptoms and seeing them as an answer. And that's not just, the reason for that is this also helps us to see through the client's eyes and to be non-judgmental. That's huge. It's going to change the environment of your office. We're seeing the blocks as a strength. That's also going to change, because if you see a defense and you push against it, what happens? It gets stronger. And then you just think, oh, well, they're just a narcissistic client. Oh, they're borderline. Oh, they're whatever, all those, you know, labels we put on people, when really they're just people, and they are just people who are hurting. So we look at those blocks, whatever's in our way, as a strength, and try to see, how did they need this? We're viewing it back into the past. How was this helpful for them? And this is a non-violent approach. And the non-violent approach means it's non-judgmental. We're not trying to make them do anything. We're not trying to get them to change. We're not judging them and saying, oh, this is, you know, what they're doing is just whatever the labels we put on them. And then lastly, we can then, once we understand the other ones, we understand the client's longing. It should be the S on there. The client's longing, like what? So these are all the blocks. These are all the answers. And what's missing? What are they? What is the longing? And so for some clients, the longing might be to feel welcome. And so let's review what we've talked about already. And the nice thing is you can go back and review the videos. We're working on it, but I think we've helped everyone who wanted to see the videos see them. If we haven't, please let us know. you're still having trouble viewing them, let us know because we will help you. Asking for help will work. So why attachment? Why an attachment and somatic approach? So let's just talk about, well, let's see if I go into that more. Yeah, kind of go into that more. But so the reason for this approach isn't just because it's interesting, but it's because if you're working with clients, no matter what the presenting issue is, you're going to be working with attachment and how that attachment shows up in the body, how their experiences show up in their body and their whole experience, all of them, not just their physical body, but emotional in all ways. And so learning about how to see it will help you to work with it. We talked about understanding trauma, and the biggest part of that is using the window of tolerance and see that trauma has symptoms instead of memories. Those are two important aspects to help you understand trauma. The difference between PTSD and developmental attachment trauma. So the PTSD trauma is the trauma that they left the window of tolerance at the time. So they went into their survival resources, and so they will not have, a part of that is they don't have memories of it, or the memory of it is not, they might have pieces of memory because that's how they survived it. Developmental attachment trauma is often the water people swim in. It happens all the time. They just think this is what life is. They think it's the truth. And they end up just feeling like this will end up showing up in your office, and it's our job to help them to find out what they want and help to bring awareness to the patterns, beginning to see the patterns. And then we talked about right brain communication. And this, again, is what we're doing throughout the process. And if we're doing this, this is when there is communication without words. It's feeling felt. It's the attunement that happens. And if this is missing, then no matter what words are being said, it's not going to be as effective. If this is there, no matter what words are being said, your client is probably getting better. I was talking with a client this week, and he was talking about how he was triggered, or he was just talking about a disappointing experience with his partner, and where he opened up and began talking about something he was disappointed about at work. And his partner began to say, well, begin to solve it. So often that's with couples, that's one of the complaints is, I don't want you to, I don't want you to give me the answer. I want you to hear me. And so we talked about, remember, because I always try to take it back to understand how it fits in with the history. So what it went back to for him was his mother would say, he would say something, talk about something he was disappointed about or sad about, and she would say, oh, well, yes, that's, people shouldn't do that, or something like that. But there was the way that he said what she would say told me her right brain was not there, that she was using her left brain, which is logical problem solving, and he felt missed. And he said, so what I would end up doing is saying, okay, yeah, all right, and then walk away. And she would end up talking about herself. So this right brain communication is an important part of what we're going to talk about today. And then the somatic resources. Why somatic resources? Because they change the lowest level of the brain, that is preverbal, where the trauma is often stored, and it can affect all aspects. And it's the bottom up way of doing resourcing. And then we talked about tracking and the different things that we track. And today we're going to talk more about that. So what we're doing, and the goal of it is what is it like to be the client? And this is really what phase 1 and 2 are all about in EMDR. The therapist is trying to understand what it's like to see the world through the client's eyes and the client's reality. Often, especially because of our own character strategies, we feel this pressure to give them something or do something before this. And if you do, you're doing what that mother of my client did. You're missing. You're missing that opportunity to connect with them in a right brain way. So the first thing is understanding what it's like to see the world through their eyes and their reality and their perceptions, and doing this without judgment in an open and curious way. So if you're doing this, you're likely to say, oh, of course this is what you're doing. Of course you're, having whatever it is. Think of the worst symptom that triggers you. And of course you're having multiple affairs with your, on your spouse. If you can be there and really understand it, then you have phases 1 and 2 complete, really. Because once you understand it, that means you have really the treatment plan in place already. So you also know what their strengths are, what is over and underdeveloped. And it might sound like, how awesome that you were able to blank. So one of the things with the client that I was just referring to, he has, if you think about the types, it's the rock. He's the rock. So what he learned how to do is to bear down under difficult situations and just get through it till he could get the heck out of there and then go be by himself. And so of how awesome that he was able to figure out a way to resource himself, really. And so he did that through reading and solitaire, going by himself and reading. And then what are the likely blocks that need to be developed? So we don't want to say, so when we say this, if we're saying it in a non-judgmental way, we're not saying, but you need to be able to be more social. That's not for us to say, right? So the way we're going to get to the blocks are to say, so is there ever a way, is there ever a time that gets in your way? Is that ever a problem for you? So first, identifying the strength by saying, so you're really good at being dependable. You're really good if you're going to be there, right? You're going to be there for someone. And you're really good at that. And you can stick it out. Like you can take a lot when other people would probably buckle under that kind of pressure. That's some really good skills to have, and it's very helpful. And then you've already found out all the ways that that's helpful in his life. And then just say, so is there any time that skill gets in your way? And so my client was like, yeah, like I would like to have more fun. I'd like to just be more free to, to have movement, really. And so that coming from them, it needs to come from them. So I hear this I just hear this happening. And so just understanding that we aren't to judge what's right or wrong or what our client needs or doesn't need. Maybe they don't. So understanding what the client needs and offering it by saying, would you like it if? So sometimes they'll say, no, not really. This isn't a problem. And so I might say, well, would you like it if you could have more fun? So if they don't come up with it, on their own than offering it like that. And they might say no. And so how is that different than, well, you really are kind of stuck in so many ways in your life, and people really need to be more social and not always just go read in their room. How is that different than, would you like it if you could have the choice of either going to read in your room or calling a friend to go out for coffee? Does that feel different to any of you? This medium is, I'm so, I don't know which character type that is, probably emotional, probably sensitive emotional, that needs this connection with you all out there to keep going. But I have Tori here, I can feel her, so that's good. So other things to track as we're doing this. So some of the things that we did in the meditation today, we were tracking ourselves in what we pay attention to first. And so whatever it is you pay attention to first will tell you something. And that will be the same for our clients. So we are tracking what happens with the client, and not just in pieces, but also in a pattern. So what happens in their body as they say certain content, what happens in their body as certain emotions come up, or what happens in their physical state, or as they are talking, is there some way that they do something, a pattern of touching themselves or self-soothing somehow that happens? Are there certain movements that happen over and over again? Verbal statements that they keep repeating, movements or gestures and gestures. Do they pull further away from you, or do they come closer, or do they even just like slightly with their body noticing as certain things happen, what are the patterns that happen with them? And how, in reacting to the therapist and their facial expressions, noticing, these are all the things that we're tracking. And so one of the activities we did last year was it was this year. 2 weeks ago was to have a volunteer come on camera and track. And so I have a video today that I was going to put on and have you track and begin to see what you would notice without the words. So we're going to do this without the words. And so if you can just take some notes as we start this video, and I'm going to skip through some different pieces. Okay. So just begin to notice if there are any patterns. Take notes of what you're seeing. Okay, I'm going to move it up a little bit. Oops. Okay, so if you want to take note of that, of anything that you saw, and then I'm going to play it with the sound.
What image represents the root?
Can you hear it, Tori? Can you hear it? I think I can do this.
Yeah. And as you bring up that image, what words go best with that picture that express your negative belief about yourself now? Is it still I'm powerless?
So what so what I'd like you to do here is just to notice what else you notice as you hear the words. So we're going to go through some pieces of this again and notice if there's anything different you notice as you're hearing the words. Oops.
In your gut, like the belief about yourself now. And so,
Probably powerless.
okay. And so try that, even though you know better. Power feels completely false.
Try to get to the part, which is reprocess.
And where do you feel that disturbance in your body?
Right now I feel it in my shoulders.
Okay. So I want you to bring up that picture of you feeling sad in first grade and those negative words, I'm powerless, and notice where you're feeling that in your body, and then just follow my hands. Okay. And take a breath. What are you noticing now?
I still feel a little tense.
Okay. Just notice that. What are you noticing now?
Like I'm starting to let go of the feeling.
Okay. Just notice that. What are you noticing now?
It's like I'm calming down, I guess.
So bring up that memory again. And what's
Okay. So this is an example of someone who was managing their experience, her experience. And so is there anything you noticed with the first time that, was there any difference between hearing it with her voice and seeing it? Anyone want to share that? You could put it in the chat function. Wendy did? Okay, it's on the chat. Or let me stop sharing for a second. Okay. All right. Oh, we have 20 things in the chat. Okay. All right. Okay. So hands and lap, being still, tightening lips like she was managing, right? And you were right. Yeah. Yeah. So Jeannie did not see the contemplative gaze, not glaze. Second time, it seemed she was more open and the shrugs made sense. Noticed how tense her body was, right? Yeah. Not much eye contact, tension in her shoulders, right? Yeah, so those are the kind of things that you want to watch, and we're going to talk more about seeing the seemed hypo-aroused and distracted, thumbs fidgeting, yeah. So all of that, like the fidgeting, that's a great thing, Ami, to notice those little things like that, because that will tell you that there's somewhere that they're relieving, they're feeling tension that they're relieving somehow. So like this would probably be a way of relieving tension that they're trying to let go of. Tightening shoulders. And as we do this, if you can think, if you can kind of look back into their past, because that's what we're doing. It's showing up physically. It's showing up in all ways. That's the EMDR model, right? Is that the past is present right now. And yeah, looked away and down a lot, darting eyes, yeah. So good, you guys were able to see it happening. And it's just really small, isn't it? So it wasn't like a huge dramatic thing that she was doing, but it was just this slight tension here and that she was holding. And you can kind of see that constriction that was happening for her. Right. Yeah, so she's been worried that she makes a client uncomfortable if she watches them too openly. Yeah, and so that's practice is important, because at first it does feel like you're like looking for the slightest little twitch or something. But actually what you're doing is just kind of a general, you'll begin to get a general sense of seeing small things happening without having it pull your whole attention there. So, yeah, so she could see more openness in her face. Good. So like I said, this is a view into the past, and it's a way for you to see. So as you think about her shoulders tightening, what do you think how did that show up in the past? There's Wanda. So how do you think shoulders tightening may have been helpful? Good morning, Anne. Protecting, withdrawing into self. Shows she's strong, right? Guarded, protected emotionally, yeah. Yeah, if it wasn't safe for her to feel, she probably had to somehow tighten here, because what does that do? Your emotions are usually coming from here, your gut or your heart. And so the tightening here helps to hold that down. How often do you have clients who have tightening in their throat? Yeah, not drawing attention to herself. Great, those are really good, good observations. And what those are actually hypotheses. And so we're guessing, we're kind of viewing in and taking a guess. And we're thinking, I wonder if this was useful somehow. And so all of these things that we're seeing are were useful. So preparing to protect yourself from being hurt, right? Carrying stress in your shoulders. So for all of you, think about, where is your go-to place to hurt? What hurts? Lower back. Lower back. Think about why a lower back. It would be helpful to have your lower back tighten up. How could that be helpful for someone growing up? You're supporting yourself, right? Right. And maybe supporting, like you have to do it all yourself. Like, I don't have support from others. Standing strong, being the strong one. Good. Right. You guys are good. Mike, defending from behind, right? Just waiting on somebody to, like in my case, sometimes when we had our Saturday cleaning sessions, being whooped. Yeah, Karen. When we had our Saturday cleaning sessions and mom was at work, sometimes there would be something would fly through the air. Sometimes it was a shoe or whatever. Sometimes we had some real brawls. So it could be that you never know what's going to come next. Something's going to happen next. Another thing might, when's the next shoe going to literally drop? And yes, Right, that's how we clean, throwing things through the air. Yeah, and then my cleaning now, right, Mike? Good observation. Or think about someone who's maybe in their middle back gets tight, or hips get tight, or ache. Wherever it is you ache when you get really tired, some people it's their top of their shoulders, back of their shoulders. All of those places will, and sometimes it's the front, like there's a curving in. All of those places, and even the shape of our body now, the way that our body is as an adult is likely, well, is a result of what we've done over and over again. So beginning to see through that lens of, I wonder, in a curious, open way, not like you are going to say, oh, that person, but it's more like, I wonder what happened, and kind of beginning to see that. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Melissa says, I have a lot of clients who say they can't get a deep breath, like they can't breathe in all the way. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll talk about that in a second. Then Ann says, what happened, Ann? Oh, from Ann to everyone. What could looking more to her right than left reveal? Well, she was looking toward me, and so that might be something. That could be just a slight attach cry, or wanting connection or safety. And it would just be, that's my guess. And not being able to speak up for themselves or having an opinion. And the deep breath, those two could be related. And so if you think about a deep breath, some of the clients, especially the emotional one, or the invisible one, this curving in that happens, and there's a sinking of their chest a little bit, like a pulling in of their chest. And that makes it really difficult to take a deep breath. Also for the rock, like with my client, it's a little bit of a curving in of this, but then there's a more solid internal thing. The invisible one, they will have this, but then all the energy is pulled up, and they're pulled like up and back and out. So there's not a lot of groundedness. But for the rock, there's this curve in, and then there's like they're solid as a rock. They're like immovable. As I asked about that, and this was just this week because I was asking him about that, and he said, yeah, even as he would be at the mall or downtown Ann Arbor, and there are people who approach you to sell things, his partner noticed that when they're out together, no one ever approaches him, and they just approach his partner, because he said there's some way that you put off this big no, like there's a big sense of they're not going to influence you, you're not going to be able to be influenced. And that's kind of the rock. That's what they learned how to do, was to endure but not really let someone else influence them, holding on to their will in a way that's just solid. And I'm going to be here, and if you try to even push me over, you're not going to be able to do it. And then Jeannie saying she has a client who had hyperventilated. That's probably a different thing we'll talk about. Right. Okay, and so Donna somehow didn't get on a list. Is that what happened? Okay, everybody's all right. All right, so let's move on. What, Troy?
Just wanted to check the time.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Oh, great, it's 9:51. Like last time, what we're gonna do is have a 10-minute break every hour. And so it's 9:51, so let's take a break. And I am going to end the meeting so it will record an hour time frame so that people can watch them in chunks and not be overwhelmed by this. And we will meet back here at 10:01. All right.